What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Duel, back here with another Diablo 4 video, and today I wanted to talk about the overall state of Diablo 4. Now, who am I? My name's Duel. I call myself a casual blaster of Diablo 4, so full disclaimer, I'm not a pro at this game, I'm not a theory crafter, I'm not a build crafter, I don't know Blizzard. In fact, obviously, I'm just a tiny dude yapping on the internet. Who cares what I think? But I feel like we get opinions from the top 10% that can blast this game for hours on end, and we don't really get opinions from the people that do not have all the time. And for context, I work a full-time job Monday through Friday. I do not have all the time in the week to play Diablo 4, so the opinions and thoughts that I have about the game do not always align with the normal content creators that stream 24/7 and play the game nonstop. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. So, credit where credit is due, the Paladin Shadow Drop. That thing was absolutely insane. Crazy. Like, me and my friends were talking about, what's this big announcement that's going to be at the Game Awards? And oh my gosh. So, if you didn't know, it was heavily implied by the Diablo 4 devs during the Diablo 4 campfire chat that you need to watch the Game Awards, watch the Game Awards, watch the Game Awards. And everyone's like, well, what could they possibly be announcing? And then it was announced that this season got delayed from Tuesday at, usually I believe it's at 11 a.m. to Thursday at 10:30 at night Central. And we were like, well, what could it be that they're delaying the season that long? Because they've never delayed a season like that or changed the schedule to that late. I remember watching a video by Raxantarax where he specifically stated he spoke to the developers and he tried to get them to move like the season launch date to a Friday. And the reason that they did not do this is because they like doing it in the middle of the day. It's easier on the devs, and I guess it's easier on some of the players. And they're able to fix bugs during the week and not over the weekend. So whatever this announcement was, it was a pretty big one for them to shift that different mindset based on the conversation they had with Rex. And what was it? Lo and behold, it was the Paladin. And the Paladin announcement was amazing. It was awesome. I wish Blizzard would do more big announcements like this. This was so cool. Probably the happiest I've ever seen the Diablo 4 community in a very long time. And when I say the community, I mean the forums and Reddit. Like, insanely good, crazy. Blizzard, Rare Blizzard W. Please keep doing this. Amazing. I had to get that out of the way. Blazing's over. we'll continue talking about the season. The season theme, this is the season of divine intervention. I call it the season of juicing. Basically, you get your divine gifts, and they're not powers, but they're like passive points that basically enhance what you're doing throughout the overworld, like all the different activities such as Helltide, the Pit, Cuirass Undercity, and I think that's it. I could be missing something. Maybe world bossing too, but I digress. It's a way of juicing your overall activity within the game. This is something that I have been wanting for a very long time. So I know it's a season theme, but I'm kind of bummed. I hope that they incorporate a mechanic such as this in the future of the core base game, because this is something that I feel like even the top 10% that blast this game 24/7, they like things to do. When you run out of things to do, you stop playing. You go play other games or you wait for the next season. Now, I would imagine if I was a Diablo 4 dev or even a shareholder, I would want people playing this game people looking in the shop as much as possible, people playing the game as long as possible, justifying that server cost as long as possible. So whatever you got to do to keep people to keep playing, keep them doing stuff in the game, to have them strive for something is very important, whether you're a blaster or a casual blaster such as myself, when you're working a full-time job, or even if you don't even have that much time to play. If the game is just so trivial that you can just walk in and do everything, you're going to get bored and play other stuff. People like a sense of progression. That's why we play these games. We like starting from the ground up and becoming a Giga Chad, super strong god tier character and just wiping everything off the map. That's the whole point. So I really think that they need to keep something like this. They need to tweak it, maybe make it a little more flashier. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, so when you open up your divine gifts, you have these things that are juicing and you're getting better gear, but for what? And you're also not really feeling it, if that makes sense. I would say the most noticeable change is the Duriel one with Helltide, where every time, like once you get it maxed out, every time you kill Duriel, you get a legendary rune guaranteed. Now that is amazing because that is something that historically you were not able to just go and hunt down legendary runes. It just wasn't a thing. So you just sit here. Historically, just farming bosses was the best way to get runes, but they were not a guarantee to be a legendary. So this is a way of like target farming things that you need and gear that you want. Most specifically, legendary runes in this case. More things like this need to be in the game, making things more deterministic, like going out and trying to farm boss mats, farming runes, farming GAs, and farming, mats for masterworking and mats for tempering. These are all things that people need and want so that when they're doing something, they have a purpose. When they log into the game, they know what they're going to go do, whether it's leveling, upgrading your gear, getting runes, you get the idea. So I think including more of this function in the future would be massive for everybody across the board. It gives people a plan. They can execute a plan and they're not just aimlessly doing content and they don't know why. And it's, you get bored really quick doing that. And you play other games and you move on. And I would imagine that's not the intention here. So overall, I think the season theme, to wrap it up, was really solid. I hope this is a permanent mechanic or something like that in the future, which may be the case. I don't know. We have not really seen Blizzard really that much incorporate permanent seasonal changes to the game for the most part. So who knows if they'll do this? People gave really good positive feedback to season 10, and they said they hope it was a permanent change, but they said adding all that stuff to the game permanently, which was Chaos Armor, if you didn't know, was making the characters too powerful. So I understand that, but hopefully they take that feedback and find a way to incorporate something like that in the future, because when the players say they want something, you should be feeding them that. And I'm not saying the game should be ran by the players, right? Because that's not what I'm trying to say. But when you have a mechanic that, when you have a season, talk about season 3, which was the most hated Diablo 4 season, and then you come up on a season like season 10, which is probably one of the most beloved seasons besides season 6 and season 2, take that feedback and find a way to permanently incorporate these changes in your game. Because when people like that stuff, you want to find a way to keep them playing the game, obviously for retention and things that I spouted about earlier. So I'll wrap it up there and just say I hope that they revisit this and find a way to make deterministic changes towards the activities and things that you want in the game permanent. So, and that could be coming, but I guess we'll see when the expansion drops on April. Moving on, so changes to the overall endgame I really appreciate here, and it actually feels like Sanctuary is actually being taken over by these monsters, which previously it did not feel that way, but now it sort of does. So previously, when you were doing world bossing and you're doing the pit, Undercity, Helltide, you were just fighting random bosses at the end of the pit, fighting the Hellfire Maiden, which she's just some random bat that's a reused asset throughout the entirety of the game. She means nothing. She's faceless. Nobody cares. Pit, same deal. You're fighting the same boss every time. Undercity, you're fighting some random boss nobody knows. They've officially scrapped that and said, hey, this season, Duriel's going to be ahead of Helltide, and Dario's going to be taking over the Undercity, Belial's taking over the Pit, and Asmodan is going to be a world boss, and you can go summon him. And I really like that. It really adds to the theme of all these monsters and all these evils trying to take over Sanctuary. It actually feeds into it, and it makes sense. And I really like that. I thought it was a really good change, and I hope they continue to do these changes in the future. And I even argue, I hope they rotate which boss is taking over which activity. So, like, maybe next season, Andariel is taking over, Helltide. And then maybe Duriel takes over the Pit. And then Belial takes over, Belial is a world boss. Things like that. Keeping it fresh like that, it's pretty cool. And the themes that you can do with that keep the game fresh and interesting. And I really like that a lot. All right, so overall, I think the endgame is in a lot better spot than it was. And I feel like we say this every season, but it's true. It is. It's in a better spot than it was before. And hopefully in Season 11 and then in the expansion, they'll unironically expand upon this and make it even better. So that's what I would personally want to see regarding Endgame. Now, I'm not gonna talk about what's coming for Endgame because we already have an idea. Actually, you know what? Whatever. I'll just talk about it. So if you don't know, in the expansion pack, if you do not have the expansion pack for Lord of Hatred, once you purchase it, you get Vessel of Hatred and you get access to, the future content in the story. However, they have specifically stated that they are going to be updating Endgame completely. How you do your activities. I think I saw it was called War Plans. So basically, how you do your activities throughout the Endgame could be different. Um, while I am excited for that, and I'm excited for some of the changes, they're also adding Heradric's Cube, and they're going to be probably adjusting how crafting works in the game. And I'll talk about gear and tempering here in just a little bit. I am hopeful that I'm hopeful that they give you something more to work towards, because right now you just once you get the gear that you want, you're basically able to do everything in the game and there's nothing left for you to do. Versus like in Last Epoch, you can fight, you can, if you've ever played Last Epoch, you can fight regular Aberoth, who is basically their version of Lilith, essentially. And then you can go, after you fight Aberoth, it's like a checkpoint, then you can craft your gear, make it stronger, which you have to play the game to get the gear that you need to craft to go fight Uber Aberoth, which is like 10 times harder than regular Aberoth, and just like things that that will require you to play the game a lot longer than you normally would. Now, I guess you could argue that that is technically the case with Uber Lilith, because you can kill Lilith on T1, T2, T3, but those phases don't really mean anything because you still get a resplendent spark from killing her on T1. So if they offered you something or gave you more of a reason to kill the Lilith on all torments, I think that that would improve people's retention and trying to, stay playing the game longer. Okay, well, I killed Lilith on T1. What do I get? I get a Resplendent Spark. Okay, what do I get on T2? Well, you get a Mythic. T3, what do you get? Like, you see what I mean? There's nothing, but there's also no mechanic to back that up to keep you playing, because you're just doing the same content over and over, but you're not progressing, if that makes. There's no level really of progression. The only level of progression that you really get is, yes, you get Paragon points from leveling, but eventually the amount of power that you have tapers off and it no longer matters. Like if you can see here, I'm Paragon 230. I'm now at a point where I can pretty much do all content in the game, with the exception of Uber Lilith, but I don't have to go kill. When I say Uber Lilith, I mean Torment 4 Uber Lilith. Other than completing the season journey, there's really no reason for me to go kill her. I can be done with the chapters and wash my hands clean and call it a day and move on. So I think that this Endgame, is missing a functionality or feature like that to keep people playing the game. And I think this is a major component as to why something like Last Epoch and PoE 2, people are playing for longer periods of time than Diablo 4. Now, maybe that's the way the game was designed initially, but that's not what the players obviously want or need. And I'm speaking to the casual blasters and the people that are dad gamers, and I'm speaking to the top 10% that stream these games all day long. Give everybody something to do. Whether you have time to do it or not, well, that's your own discretion. So I think that's what the people want. And I think Blizzard is cooking something. You know what? A month ago, I would not have trusted Blizzard at this point, but with the shadow drop of the Paladin and the success of this season, I'm gonna put some faith in them and hope to see that they're cooking something. So we'll see what that looks like in April when the expansion pack drops. Moving on to gear rework and tempering rework. So this season, they kind of changed how gear works and tempering. Obviously, they changed how crafting in general works. So in previous seasons, I believe you got 3 affixes and then 2 tempering affixes with a total of 5. They've now changed that to where all legendary items have 4 affixes and they let you temper 1 affix onto it. And previously, tempering was completely random, and then you had only so many times to temper before you bricked your item, and you could restore those tempers 1 time with a scroll of restoration. That system is completely gone. Now you get your legendaries with 4 affix, 1 temper, and now when you pick your tempers, it's whatever you decide. But the the roll that you get on the temper is still random, which is good. That's what you want. However, now I believe that you can just reset your weapon with the scroll of restoration as much as you want. I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works now. And then you have masterworking, which before it was like you upgrade it 4 times, then you got a crit. Upgrade it 4 times, then a crit. Upgrade it 4 times, then a crit. Now it's no longer like that. Now you upgrade to a quality level of plus 25, and then you get, I believe you get 2 crits. One at the end of your quality, and then you get another one after that on top of that. And then for this season only, which again I hope they make this a permanent mechanic or incorporate something similar to this, you now have sanctifying your items, which gives you a random power from an item. And I believe it's a legendary power, and I believe you can get affixes from like any item and any mythic. I believe it's how it works. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And then, of course, your item is no longer, it's officially bricked. You can't do anything with it. You can't modify it at all. It's basically locked, right? And that's how it is for the rest of the game until you go find another weapon. I really like this system. I really like how random it is. I like that you can't re-roll it. I like that it's a one try shot because it makes that dopamine hit so much better when you get a sanctification that just absolutely slaps. So I love that system. I really hope that they keep changing crafting. Crafting in general has been very lackluster in Diablo 4. Everybody knows this, but I think this is the season where it actually feels like crafting. So the wheels are turning there a little bit. If they can get towards a direction with Last Epoch, I think it'll do wonders for the retention of this game. So I also wrote down masterworking here, but we already talked about that, so I'm just going to skip over that. So, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I talked about sanctifying. I had a list here: gear rework, tempering, masterworking, and sanctifying. But I just talked about all that stuff. So overall, I think this is a good season. The current state of Diablo 4 is in a great direction. However, there could be more that makes it more deterministic based on what you're trying to do. Whether you're hunting GAs, you need more boss mats. Like I'm talking like trying to target farm specific runes, specific boss mats that you need. Like what if you want to go farm Duriel? Well, the only way to do that is to farm either go farm Helltide, get Living Steel, kill Grigor a bunch of times, and then go fight Duriel. What if there was a way you could just get Shards of Agony? But I would argue maybe that system needs to be left unchanged. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not a game designer, honestly. I'm not an ARPG designer. So I don't know the best way to incorporate these things. But doing these things and giving people, specific things to target farm just increases people's, notion to have like a checklist of things that they want to do. You go in with a purpose. Like when you go in to playing Last Epoch, you go in knowing like, okay, I'm going to go in here and do this so I can farm these swords with these aspirations, and I need to get my corruption up so that I can do a certain timeline, get to that point, because the higher the timeline goes, the higher rare drops you have. So there's no system like this in Diablo 4 at all. Like going higher and higher, you do not get a reward for it. You clear your season chapters, and that's it. Oh, I guess we can talk about that real quick. I did not write this down, but I should have. Is that they made a major adjustment to seasonal chapters, and this time they reward you based on how far you can clear in the pit and the capstone dungeons. I actually really like this change because before it was like, here's a grocery list of things you need to go do. Go open this chest, go craft an item, go craft a jewelry cache, go craft a master gem. Now those options, those checklists are still there, but they're optional. Meaning you only need to clear these chapters by clearing the capstone and then clearing a certain pit tier. You no longer have to do the other objectives. Now, will the other objectives help you out? Absolutely. Definitely do them. But you do not have to do them anymore to complete the season journey. And I really like that change a lot. I hope they give us more things like that to do in the future, which I think we will get coming April. I guess we'll see. But like I said, doing something where the Circle of Fortune with Last Epoch, where the higher difficulty you go, the more rare drops of items you get. I think that's a system that is missing so bad. They need something like that desperately. And one of the ways I think they can incorporate this, just as an idea here, is that the more whispers you open, like whisper caches, the higher tier of GAs that you get. Like the more you open. Let's say you open 100, then you open 300, then you open 500. It gives somebody a reason to keep opening, because right now you can just go and open the whisper cache, and you have a chance of getting a GA cache, but it doesn't you don't really feel the same dopamine as if you, hey, I earned that GI. I've spent the time opening 1,000 whisper caches, and now I have a chance to get mythics to come out of my caches. Like that would be something that would be really cool. A level of progression with your gear, just like Circle of Fortune and Last Epoch. So, yeah, I think that's the kind of system that I think people are looking for, and then obviously a more advanced crafting system would go a long way. Whether or not we're going to get that in the expansion, probably not, but I'm just saying those are the two things that I would like to see in Diablo 4. So, with that being said, I am going to wrap it up there. What do you think of the season? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you think of the Paladin? The Paladin is so much fun to play. I love the Paladin. Obviously, he's completely juiced. Definitely probably going to get nerfed in season 12, but, you know, this is easily one of my favorite classes, if not, besides the Barbarian. This is probably my second favorite class in the entire game. So, that's going to do it for me, guys. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about Diablo 4 this season? And I just realized my camera's blurry, so that's always good. But let me know in your comments what you thought of the season. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. It does help out the channel a lot. If you do, you are not required to, but again, I would appreciate it. So I'll wrap it up there. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.